Hello, hello, and welcome to Cryptic Corner, the little corner of the internet where we take a look at the unexplained, the supernatural, the paranormal, and hidden, the mysterious, the alien, the accursed, and the forbidden. I'm your host, Miss Bumblebee, and back to stick my nose and scrutiny into yet another uh, cultural myth, and legendary creature, because today we are looking at the Latin American onza. What is an onza? Well, technically, an onza is a jaguarundi, but maybe a little bit different. I don't know. We're going to dig in and find out. So if you like creepy kitties, stick around because we cover them a lot here in Cryptic Corner. I actually have to regulate myself from talking about cryptic cats nonstop, and and kind of try to break it up with other stuff because it's so much fun to cover. Anyway, let us go ahead. Yeah, I hope I don't go down too. But we'll, like I said, if the channel does go down, I got a backup plan. We will persevere. It just, I would say having a backup channel on here is just not gonna cut it, because even if they do, I'm still gonna want to cover what I cover. I'm still gonna want to do it that way. So, cryptic kitties are one of my favorites. They're not Loch Ness monster like we talked about last night, or Bigfoot like we talk about every other week, but they are pretty prominent in our cultural zeitgeist. And they've actually been popping up in things here recently too. Not specifically the onza, but it definitely, if the onza is a jaguarundi, this definitely fits that description. But let's see. Sighting of a mysterious animal in the Phoenix Mountains Preserve leaves officials puzzled. The sighting of a mysterious big cat in Phoenix Mountain Preserve have left officials puzzled as to what it could be. On November 9th, a YouTube account under the name Jen Fletcher posted a 23-second video of an ominous creature in the mountain range near her home. The video has since garnered 15K views as of Wednesday, with several users taking to the comments to identify the animals. Or the animal, just one. Some suggest that it could be a jaguar, a panther, a jaguarundi, or maybe a fat house cat. Experts with the Arizona Game and Fish Department share their confusion as well, only being able to rule out what it isn't. It's not one of our native big cat species, a mountain lion, a bobcat, an ocelot, or a jaguar. Arizona Game and Fish Department spokesperson Tom Caden, not Todd Camden. I don't know where I got Todd Camden is. There's no Todd Camden in any of this reporting whatsoever. It's Tom Caden. Told the Arizona Republic it's pretty big for a house cat. Other theories, according to Caden, however, is that it could be an exotic cat that someone obtained and somehow escaped. But that's just speculation, Caden noted. And we're actually going to see that interview here in a second. As officials continue to try to identify the creature, Caden said that their radio dispatch center is not receiving any additional calls regarding the sighting. The Game and Fish Department will be looking for more reports of the sighting and encounters. All big cat encounters, attacks, or sightings in urban areas should be reported to dispatch at 623-236-7201. That's their big cat attack line, apparently. But just a little short write-up on this story. I don't know if they have the whole video here. There's our kitty. Definitely a kitty. I have my thoughts. Wait. Hold on. We're just going to launch it here. There we are. Here, we'll do it this way. Much better, much clearer image. Okay. So we got a black cat. Looks like it's about maybe 30 feet up the side of the mountain there, crawling among the slag. Yeah, I have my thoughts on it. We can watch that news report though, see what they say.
Middle of Phoenix, so not anything.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank a viral video right here showing an unidentified animal in the Phoenix Mountain Preserve has a lot of people guessing.
Easy with that background music.
12 News journalist William Pitts shows us even the experts are guessing.
Well, I kind of question your experts.
The video is not that great. You're looking at that little black spot in the middle. Wait for it to move.
Yeah, this is part of the reason why I wanted to watch this one. No, because it's zooms in very, very close.
It slinks over some rocks. The original poster said this was in Phoenix Mountain Preserve near Cave Creek Road in Peoria. They had one question. What is this thing? Comments on Reddit went from house cat to jaguar to chupacabra to, well, of course, it went to aliens eventually.
Of course.
We showed the video to a team from Arizona Game and Fish and Southwest Wildlife Conservation Center.
That's pretty far. It looks pretty far away.
I don't think it's a domestic cat.
You don't think it's a cat?
This is Todd, or Tom,
Just as
whatever.
bad as everyone
Yeah.
else. In the end, it was easier to figure out what this thing is not.
It's clearly not a mountain lion or a bobcat. We have ocelots, rarely. It's not an ocelot, they're a spotted cat. And then bobcats, which are spotted.
It's probably not a bear, not with a tail like that. Jaguars, we've only ever seen a handful.
So, a few things here. Ocelots, as far as I can tell, they just don't, there's no melanism, no full melanism at all. I looked and looked for melanism in ocelots and could not find a good example. You look up melanism in ocelots, you get a whole bunch of pampas cats, which are another South American cat that's generally spotted, but they do have a black melanistic morph. You got jaguars that come in a black morph. You have oncillas, which can be melanistic, but ocelots, nope. Jaguarundis, very much so. Jaguarundis are always solid one color or another. They're generally darker than a cougar. That's their closest relative is the cougar. And they'll run a gamut from sort of a dark red to a full-on black, and there's every shade of gray and black in between. I don't think this is that, though. I'm just to make that clear. Now, this guy said a bobcat is another spotted cat, but bobcats, on the other hand, can be melanistic. It's very rare, but would not expect to see it in Arizona. We're not expecting melanism in any cat in Arizona, because melanism is generally something that takes place or that finds success in a more tropical region. The closer you get to the equator, or the denser the jungles get, whichever happens first, that's where you're going to find melanistic cats thriving, because they thrive in their melanism gives them that counter shade to hide in the depths of the forest. The jaguars definitely live in Arizona, right? They come in a melanistic form, but we've never seen a melanistic jaguar in at least not like officially in Arizona. Now, the other big cat in North America is a cougar. Cougars do not come in black either. We've had whole videos about the cougars, right? We've talked about that, haven't we, Hive? We've discussed that, hey, cougars don't have a melanistic form. Anyway, let's...
Followed them over 30 years, and all of them are down by the Mexican border. This is in the middle of Phoenix, so not anything local.
The Mexican border is also where you're going to find the ocelots and the jaguarundi. They don't get too far up into the U.S. at all. They just hug the mountains up into Arizona. This very southern part of Arizona. Now the jaguars will also move over into Texas. Jaguarundis hug the coast up into Texas. Actually, pretty far up into Texas. I don't think ocelots live in Texas at all.
Likely an animal that was in captivity that escaped.
Jim DeVos with Game and Fish is guessing it's an exotic animal, something brought into the valley illegally that either got out or was abandoned. Maybe a black cougar.
Wait, is that him?
Who knows? With Game and Fish is guessing it's
Most likely an animal that was in captivity that escaped.
Jim DeVos with Game and Fish is guessing it's an exotic animal, something
Jim
brought into the
DeVos.
valley illegally that either got out or was abandoned. Maybe a black cougar, black panther, who knows? But Game and Fish is not going after it.
I think until we see some type of unacceptable behavior, a close encounter with a human, an aggressive encounter with a human, then it's out there, and the chances of us being able to go out and find that particular animal again,
Yeah, if cats if they don't want to be found, they aren't found.
unless it's constantly getting into trouble, is very, very slim.
So whatever this thing is, it's still out there, and it's still unidentified.
So it's probably back at home, curled up on someone's lap right now, because this, my friends, is a house cat. This, my friends, is a house cat. It's not a jaguar, not a jaguarundi, not a ocelot, not a mountain lion, not a black panther. It's a fairly large male house cat. There's lots of reasons I know that, but let's look at the video and recap here. Should I watch? I'm going to do this one because it doesn't have the audio over it. All right, so let's rewatch. This problem with this one is it doesn't zoom in, though. But you can see, and Sumami, you know what I'm talking about when we talk about these big neutered male house cats. You can see the flaps right there when it pops down off the rock. Watch. You can see its little flaps. See them? That's a house cat. It is probably your cat, Sumami. And it moves like a house cat. There was times looking at this where I watched it. I'm like, well, maybe that is a jaguarundi. Too much ears though. Jaguarundis have very tiny ears. I'll show you guys what a jaguarundi looks like. Let me see. And I'm probably gonna get my channel yoinked for this, but this shouldn't be. This is only like 10 seconds. It shouldn't. Jaguarundi. You can see why they're sometimes called the otterhead cat. Because they have tiny heads tiny long heads with tiny ears, and they have really long tails. They do come in black though. This is like a russet form here, but that's not. That ain't this. This is Tom. This is Sylvester. This is a invasive domestic cat exploring the bluff. Yeah. And if you look up to the other trees, you can kind of get an idea. I know there's nothing for scale here, but if we look at the trees up here, look at the trees. We have look at the trees in the live chat. Look at the trees up here. Look at the trees down here. And we can kind of scale this based just on tree structure. If you know kind of how these are going to grow and branch, we can scale it. It's not going to be perfect, but I can tell you that what we're looking at here is not anything weighing over 5 kilograms. It's not that big. So yeah, that's my thoughts on this one. But I think cats domestic cats can get even bigger than this. Now was there another one? Yeah, there's this one. This is in Texas. Hold on, I'm gonna close these out. I don't like so many tabs open. This one's in Texas, and again, I mean, what is there to say? How is this anything but and I like how they spelled feral, like Will Ferrell, like the actor. Is this a feral cat? Did it play Elf? Is it in Talladega Nights? Does it want to go fast? Is that a Ricky Bobby cat out there? No, that's a house cat. Just another house cat. So yeah, all these videos are house cats. But there is a legendary creature, and I'm sorry I couldn't find one without a robot voice that covers this topic. But we're gonna watch some this video about the Onza, the big cat of Mexican legend.
Welcome to Mexico Unexplained, where we will explore the magic, the mysteries, and the miracles of Mexico. This series presents information based partly on theory and conjecture. The podcaster's purpose is to suggest some possible explanation, but not necessarily the only ones to the subjects we will examine. Here is your host, Robert Bitto.
Welcome, and muy bienvenidos
Why is
to
it
episode
translated
number
into
132 of Mexico Unexplained, where we examine the magic, the mysteries, and the miracles of Mexico. I'm your host.
Go Mexico. I haven't been to Mexico before, but I would love to go down there. I like my favorite kind of beer to drink is cerveza, which cerveza just is Mexican for beer, but there's something in the way that they cultivate it down there that gives it this skunky, almost marijuana-like taste, which I love. So, yeah, Viva la Mexico.
Host Robert Bitto. In the mid-1930s, two experienced American hunters, Dale and Clell Lee, began a small hunting guide operation in the wild Sierra Madre of the Mexican state of Sonora. The Lee brothers had quite a profitable business taking other visiting hunters, mostly other fellow Americans, on hunting excursions in the northwestern Mexican wilderness. For a special client, Indiana banker Joseph Shirk, the Lees relocated their operations temporarily to the south in 1938 to the mountains of the state of Sinaloa. Shirk wanted to hunt jaguars, and La Silla Mountain, which was rich in all sorts of wildlife, was their destination. On this week-long trip, the three hunters eventually treed and shot a very large cat, which was neither a jaguar or a cougar, the two types of large felines native to Mexico. This cat was much larger than a jaguar or cougar, and its ears, legs, and body were longer than either type of traditional Mexican wildcat.
So, I think there's a wink, wink, nudge, nudge in this type of reporting to the American cheetah. Let me see. Y'all probably know about the American cheetah, but let me pull up just some quick information. Mirasononics. Let's get a good one here. Yeah, this should show us. It's an extinct, and I think that's what this picture here is actually of. No, I don't want your ads. So this is Mirasononyx trumani. I get regular updates in my email about this fossil species because that's like one of my favorites in the whole world. It's extinct species of cheetah-like cat that roam North America, close related to the cougar. And there's kind of the wink, wink, nudge, nudge that's what we're looking at here. Anyway, continuing on.
The Lees had heard rumors of an altogether different feline Mexican predator called an onza, and were convinced that this example belonged to that class of creatures only previously described in legends and vague historical accounts. The
Slava Mexicali, is that how you describe that type of beer? I would love to have a word for it, a term for it. Modella Negra with tagine on the rim. Is that? Yeah. So Modella is a great beer. Modella. I also like. Corona is the Americanized version of it, but I like Corona. Land Shark has that taste too. It's a Baja brew. Well, I mean, that's Wild World. And Wild World this is Wild World, who was on the Nessie stream last night. Good morning. Good to see ya. Yeah, as far as, so pronghorn, which are sometimes called antelope, but they're not really antelope. They're closer related to giraffes, are so fast, because they believe that they were hunted by these prehistoric predators. They could run up to 61 miles an hour. I've actually had the pleasure of seeing pronghorn in the wild. And the problem pronghorn have, and why they kind of struggle, and more when you get down more into the southwest, more so than up in the northwest, is because they can't jump over fences as well. And there's more fences across the desert than there are across the mountains. So they get in the Great Basin area, pronghorns have a lot of struggle navigating their ancestral range and doing their ancestral migrations. But yeah, that is that. I mean, there are antelope that actually live with real cheetahs that don't run as fast as a pronghorn. Like the fastest antelope in Africa is the springbok, and it's like 55 miles an hour, which is a freaking fast. I mean, faster than anything ever needs to be to escape anything but a cheetah. So the theory is, why did pronghorns run so fast when their fastest predator in North America is the cougar, which runs somewhere around like 45 to 46 miles an hour, I think is the top end. And they only run that distance or that speed for a short distance, but cheetah only run their speed for a short distance too. So we got to keep that in mind. The thing is, cougars aren't necessarily built specifically for that pursuit lifestyle to run them down like you see in cheetahs. Cheetahs have a lot of specializations to take down prey at high speeds. They got specialized nasal cavities that are unique among the cats. They have racing spike claws. They have now the American cheetah. Merionyx did not have. I don't believe did not have the non-retractable claws like we see in. Where did I put that? Like we see in true cheetahs. I think they still had semi-retractable claws, but they the elbow joints, things like that. I get regular updates on this fossil species. We don't know how fast they could run, but they do have the big barrel rib cage like a cheetah does. So, I mean, the speculation is not that far off. We don't know if they had the other specializations like the nasal cavities and things like that, but they did at least have the similar lung capacity and physiology. But yeah, as far as pronghorns go, they can run 61 miles an hour, and that's one of the leading theories as to why is because they think that they were escaping the American cheetah. A matter of fact, let's just read this quick section from Wikipedia that cites in the National Geographic article Losing Ground. The pronghorn is the fastest land mammal in the Western Hemisphere, being built for maximum predator evasion through running. The top speed dependent upon the length of time over which is measured. It can run 35 miles an hour, 42 miles an hour for up to a mile, and 55 miles an hour for up to half a mile. So that's pretty fast. Although it is slower than the African cheetah, it could sustain a top speed much longer than a cheetah. The pronghorn may have evolved its running ability to escape the now extinct predator such as the American cheetah, since its speed is greatly exceeds that of the extant North American predators. That's quoting. And when you pull up Wikipedia, there's nothing wrong with that. But when you pull up Wikipedia, you make sure that you're looking at the citations that are available here. So right now, I'm not thrilled with these citations because I'll tell you, this is giving us Smithsonian Magazine. Smithsonian Magazine and National Geographic are both pop science magazines, not the best resources for good information. So let's look and see where else we're getting things from. We have Smithsonian again, and the American pronghorn social adaptations as ghost predators of the past. Let's open that up and have a look. And this is going to be the scholarly citations for what Wild World was pointing out there about the social adaptations. Ghost predators of the past is going to talk about the predation of the pronghorn by its current predators and by its proposed past predators. And it looks like they have some decent charting and stuff of behavior. Let's see. It's just activity. Anyway, yeah, so a nice little tangent I went on there about the American cheetah, but it's coincidentally very topical today. So yeah, National Geographic is not terrible. But if you look at National Geographic, it's still going to tell you an anaconda can weigh up to 500 pounds. No, I've never. Not saying that they can't, but there's never been an anaconda, as far as I know. There's never been a snake that weighs that much, a living snake that weighs 500 pounds. It's been weighed. As far as I can tell, I've never seen a snake that weighs over 400 pounds weighed. At least not any honest weight for it. I welcome someone to present it to me. The Bible is a good read, especially, yes, Dr. Mordecai, especially if you add in the Book of Enoch. You add in the Book of Enoch, it turns it into an epic fantasy. What's a pronking? I'm not familiar with a pronking deer. Is that a real species? I'm usually pretty good at knowing all the species and all the animals. It's my superpower, so I don't know what a pronking deer is. Pronking? Prawn. I know what a prawn is. And sometimes when people say prawn, they mean switching the O and the R around. I don't want to watch deer do that.
The hunters measured and photographed the great cat and then butchered it. Joseph Shirk took the skin and the skull of the animal back home to Indiana with him. The Lees shared their experience with zoologists and the American press, but were not taken seriously.
Now that's a stylized jaguar, right? That's if we look at the spotting on it, these are rosettes. That's how you tell the difference between a leopard and a jaguar. It's the spotting. The jaguar will have the spots around the outside here, and then a darker area with more spots inside. These are called rosettes. With a leopard, it'll have the darker area outside, and then the area within as well that's shaded, but they will not be. There will not be the little spots inside there. So it's a good way to tell the difference.
By either. After their
My brother had a Maine Coon native atheist. It was huge. It was like holding a bobcat.
bad experiences, they only shared their story reluctantly some 20 years after the event, and this time with Arizona author Robert Marshall. After interviewing the Lees, Marshall went down to Sinaloa in search of the legendary cat and published a book in 1961 titled simply.
Now, this is, in my opinion, they're going to say that this is an Onza, but in my opinion, this is a cougar, a mountain lion, a puma, a catamount, if you will. It's a young one, too. It's like a teenager, a gangly teenager. Probably has not been away from mommy for very long. Like, has that milk-fed look. And see how long the limbs are compared to the rib cage? It's what makes me think it's a teenager. It may not even be sexually mature yet, but it's probably on its own. It looks like it's big enough to be on its own, but just speculating, of course. Anybody who's a big cat expert can correct me, but yeah, this looks like a teenager to me.
The Onza. Pre-Hispanic Aztec accounts record a third large cat on the western fringes of the empire called the Cuitlamitli. The great personal zoo of Emperor Montezuma in the heart of the Aztec capital of Tenochtitlan had a few specimens of Cuitlamitli in its collection of animals.
I covered this before when I went over the mystery cats of South America, but I feel it's pertinent to do it again. It's important to not colonize the language of the indigenous people and their way that they sorted out their big cats, because culturally they can have a different number of species than we have scientifically, right? To them, the most prominent example, of course, is that to most of these indigenous cultures in Central and South America, the black jaguar and the regular jaguar were unique species. There were also the different shades of cougar. You know how we have the larger, more buff-colored phenotypes that thrive in the upper mountains, but the smaller, darker-colored ones thrive down in the basin. So those were two different species to these indigenous cultures. So when the great white hunter, much like when they go out looking for dinosaurs, when they go out and talk to these indigenous populations, they're like, oh yeah, well, this is the jaguar. What we want to know about a different species of cat. And they're like, oh yeah, there's ones that look like this and look like that, and we call them this and we give them this name. It does not mean scientifically to Western science that they are a unique species, right? It just means that they have a unique color morph.
Diaz del Castillo part of the initial party of Spanish conquistadors who entered the Aztec capital as
Hey, flying Brian. Hopefully, you're experiencing the spring blossom up there in Canada, and hopefully you aren't going to be running into any mystery big cats in the wilds of Canada.
invited guests describe 3 different types of large cats in the Great Zoo. Theus writes about a part of the zoo where the emperor housed what he called the, quote, carnivorous beasts of prey, end quote, and among these animals existed, quote, tigers and 2 kinds of lions, end quote. The early Spanish explorers tended to use Spanish words to describe...
Now, tiger, the tigre, Tigre, is what the Spanish called jaguars. That's essentially was their word for pantherines. I imagine they called cougars that too, even though cougars aren't really pantherines. They're felines. But they wouldn't have known that back then. Big cat, little cat.
New animals discovered in their conquered territories, thus causing some confusion among people reading their accounts many years later. The tigers, according to Theus, meant our understanding of jaguars. The 2 kinds of lions phrase is a bit of a mystery. As already mentioned, besides the jaguar...
It's really not. It's that's just colonize. And I'm not telling this person specifically a colonizer. It's colonizer thinking, though, to say that's a unique species. The 2 kinds of lions that Montezuma had in his menagerie may have very well been 2 color morphs of jaguar or 2 color morphs of cougar. Just to name a couple of options here, because that's how indigenous populations would have sorted these. They didn't put them on a phylogeny. They didn't chart their genetic ancestry, right? They didn't try to sort of how they were related to each other, or if they could interbreed. They just paid attention to the phenotypic traits of the organisms, which is essentially size, anatomical features, and color. Right? Again, this is to me looks like a teenage mountain lion. I know I keep showing this. I'm sorry.
In Mexico, there is only one type of other large cat known by 3 different names: the cougar, puma, or mountain lion. What was the second type of lion? Was it the Cuitlamitzli, or what was later called the onza? In some research about Bernal Diaz's account of the Aztec Zoo, some writers allege that Diaz describes the second lion as being, quote, something like a wolf, end quote. Looking at the original writings of the Spanish chronicler, this is not the case. Diaz quickly moves on from his...
Something like a wolf. The only felines I would think that you would say would look something like a wolf would be maybe like a lynx or a bobcat. It's not out of the question for someone as powerful as Montezuma, because Canadian lynx would have ranged quite a ways down the Rockies at that time. It's not out of the question that they could have had one in his menagerie. Not saying that he did, but that would look more like a wolf than any species of mountain lion or jaguar. Just because they have they can have the mottled gray color because they live in a similar environment and use similar camouflage. Well, I don't think it's the mountain lion that we said. I'm not even malnourished, but just from inexperienced hunting, so not being a very good hunter because it looks very young. I'm just basing that off the expanse of the rib cage and the length of the limbs.
Is, quote, 2 types of lions, end quote, to describe, quote, animals something like wolves and foxes and other smaller carnivorous animals, end quote. He was most likely describing coyotes. His misattributed wolf references have nothing to do with the legendary onza.
Well, I mean, a wolf, they would have known what they wouldn't have mixed up wolves and coyotes, right? Because we're talking about Mexico, we're not talking about Australia. These people lived with wolves, the Mexican wolf, Canis lupus lobos, and they lived with coyotes, like in spades. Not a lot different than the coyotes we have today, because most of our coyotes today have admixtures of gray wolf that makes them a little bit, at least in the east here, makes them a little bit bigger. They're probably still pretty genetically pure down in the southwest and into Mexico, but up here I'm in Illinois, but even in Missouri, our coyotes are a whole different animal. They're basically like half wolf, half coyote. They're bigger and more woofy looking. They have smaller ears, and I didn't realize that until I took my desert Southwest road trip, that the coyotes up down there look totally different. The coyotes down there look much more fox-like than our coyotes up here, and they're a lot leaner, which explains why the coyote from the Roadrunner cartoons looks so lean.
In fact, other than mentioning 2 types of lions, he offers no specific details at all. More than 2 centuries after Bernal Diaz, the Jesuits of the western fringes of colonial New Spain described the onça. In his 2-volume treatise, Sonora, a description of the province, German-born Father Ignace Pfefferkorn wrote with great respect of this gigantic cat, quote, "It is not as timid as the cougar, and he who ventures to attack it must be well on his guard," end quote. Another Jesuit priest, Father Johann Jakob Beger, wrote in a letter to his family in France,
I don't know anybody who would describe a cougar as timid. That's kind of a wild descriptor for a cougar, in my opinion. Cougars are anything but timid.
that, quote, "An onça dared to invade my neighbor's mission when I was visiting and attacked a 14-year-old boy in broad daylight. A few years ago, another killed the strongest and most respected soldier in the area," end quote. The authorities in Rome posted,
Ooh, giving it some powers. Take down the strongest soldier in town. So now it's got leveled up from being a lanky teenage cougar to being something that's taken down this actively hunting humans. Of course, you got to go there, right? It's got to be. It's got to be a growing legend. It's got to continue, or else it'll die out completely.
Beger to the remote mission of San Luis Gonzaga in the mountains of the southern Baja Peninsula. This gives modern-day researchers a rough idea of the supposed range of the onça.
Wait, so now we're in the Baja. Are we down to what's that forest at the end of the Baja Peninsula called? It's this really unique forest. Let me see, Baja, California, and then not Mexicali. There's a name for this forest down here at the bottom. It's super. It's this super unique, like sort of like there's desert, right, and then there's these mountain ranges where it raises them up, just so they're just high enough above that it breaks the Pacific. The breeze coming out the Pacific that dries out the rest of it. It breaks that and it actually allows it to accumulate some rain. I'm trying to find out. Give me just a second here. Where's the regions? Yeah, there we go. The Sierra de Laguna has a super isolated endemic population of organisms. Let me show you. I found it, so let me show you. Here we go. So, Sierra de Laguna. And it has, this is home to many endemic species and subspecies. Some of the more common plants, and blah, blah, blah. It gives you just some details about what kind of organism. But the most important thing I want to take away from this is that there's indicism. Trip over my own words. Endemic organisms, yeah, indicism, that live in this region. So maybe that's the claim here. Let's find out.
Mountains of Sonora and Sinaloa all the way across the Sea of Cortez to the wild and inaccessible areas of Baja. Stories of the Mexican onça trickled out of the great
Thank you for liking and subbing, Flying Brian. We appreciate ya.
cat's territories over the ensuing centuries, and besides the story of the Lee brothers in the late 1930s, there have been a few other reports of this creature to gain the attention of the outside world. In 1926, cowboy C.B. Ruggles supposedly shot an onça near the Yaqui River in the state of Sonora. Ruggles took photos of the creature and wrote about its sleek body and the...
I think that's this one. Is it? What year was it?
C.B. Ruggles supposedly shot an onça near the Yaqui River in the state of Sonora. Ruggles took photos of the creature and wrote about its sleek body and the cat's thin, spotted legs, often reported by other eyewitnesses. Sometime before 1930...
Maybe it was that. So these pictures... This one also looks like a cougar to me. I don't see anything that stands out to this to say that it's any other species of cat besides Puma concolors.
Sometime before 1930, American naturalist Frank Dobie reported shooting an onça that was caught in a trap. He skinned the cat, but the pelt did not survive a bug infestation and disintegrated before he could get it to the United States for further examination.
Well, at least it didn't disappear into the Smithsonian, as so many of these things allegedly do. Oh, we gave it to the Smithsonian and we never heard back. That's always these frontier tales, how they end. But, so when the Spanish explorers came to South America, do you think the wildcats were telling stories about encountering a weird new species of humans? I imagine if cats have some way of conveying messages to their offspring, that they probably were warning them more about the stench of gunpowder and the danger of the musket ball at that time than a new species. I don't know the conquistadors probably looked pretty weird because they had like armor and stuff. I imagine that the wildlife was probably like, what the hell is that? Like there were robots or something.
Few reports that did make it out of Mexico attracted derision from scientists, who often claimed that people citing the mythical cat were misidentifying the common cougar. With a curious encounter in January of 1986, the onça only really began to pique the interest of cryptozoologists, or those who seek to discover, describe, and study legendary creatures. Mexican rancher Andres Rodriguez Murillo.
So that's the thing too, is you got to remember that the different species are going to be different phenotypes that are prevalent in certain populations. You're going to have different phenotypes that are going to be like the eastern cougar had different phenotypes than the western cougar, right? They were smaller. They were darker. Allegedly, the eastern cougar was melanistic. I don't believe that they were, but allegedly, according to, Laura Ingalls Wilder, I guess, eastern cougars could be melanistic, but there's no record of that on file at all, anywhere, other than in frontier tales. But different phenotypic populations at this time are going to be called, a unique species of cat. It's just the way that they did things back. Even though, I was talking about colonization, but even the settlers would have their own descriptors for these, for the huge cougars that live up in the Rockies compared to the smaller ones that live down in the woods that have darker fur and are much smaller.
Shot an enormous cat on his Sinaloa ranch. The rancher fired on the creature as it was about to attack him. Rodriguez later gave a detailed description of what he shot. It was not a cougar or a jaguar, but much larger and with a slender body and long legs like an African cheetah. It also had large ears and dark markings on its legs. The rancher showed the carcass to his neighbor, an experienced hunter named Manuel Vega. Vega told Rodriguez that his father had killed a similar animal in the 1970s, and he still had the animal's skull. To Manuel Vega, there was no doubt. They had before them the legendary onça. The two decided to preserve the specimen by freezing it and contacted a cryptozoologist. They reached out to J. Richard Greenwell, at that time the secretary of the International Society of Cryptozoology, or ISC. Greenwell had a particular interest in the onça and had already managed to track down and examine 2 alleged onça skulls. After sufficient back and forth...
Let's take a quick moment, look at Greenwell's article here, just to make sure that we're being fair and balanced. J. Richard Greenwell was a cryptozoologist, an explorer. He participated in expeditions to look for mysterious creatures or cryptids. He was the secretary of the International Society of Cryptozoology from its inception to his death. Born in Surrey, England, Greenwell traveled to South America and stayed there for 6 years. He later traveled to Tucson, Arizona, where he was appointed research coordinator for the Office of Arid Land Studies at the University of Arizona. So that's not too bad. Cryptozoology expeditions, 1982. After a discussion with Roy Mackal, Greenwell helped to found the International Society for Cryptozoology. With funding from the society, he was able to travel the planet searching for Bigfoot, the Onza, and Mokilembe. He also journeyed to China along with anthropologist Frank Poirier to try to discover the Yuran, the Chinese version of Bigfoot. All expeditions were unsuccessful, as you know, because if any cryptozoological expedition was successful, we'd be reporting on it here. But okay, just get an idea who they're talking about.
Fourth, the Rodriguez specimen made it to the Regional Diagnostic Laboratory of Animal Pathology, belonging to Mexico's Ministry of Agriculture, located in Mazatlan, Sinaloa. Under the direction of American cougar researcher Dr. Troy Best, a Mexican team carefully dissected the gigantic cat and subjected it to intense scientific scrutiny. Richard Greenwell assisted. In his lab note,
You're going to keep calling it a gigantic cat. I'm going to need some measurements. I don't just take that at face value. It's because gigantic is subjective. Give me some data.
Greenwell wrote, quote, "Upon inspection, the cat, a female, appeared to be as described by the native people. It had a remarkable gracile body with long, slender legs and a long tail. The ears also seemed very long for a puma, about 100 millimeters, and small horizontal stripes were found on the inside of its forelimbs, which, as far as has been determined to date, are not found on pumas. Well-developed mammae were observed, and its age was determined to be at least 4 years. It weighed about 27 kilograms. In life prior to freezing, it probably weighed a little more, compared to a range of from 36 to 60 kilograms in adult female pumas. Its total length at 186 centimeters fell within the normal range of female pumas from 150 to 200.
Why are they calling it huge when it's 27 kilograms is not huge? That's like 50 pounds? Let me double check my math there. 60 pounds. So that's not a huge cat. That'd be a average, kind of a small female cougar, or a subadult, which would explain why it could still have spots, because baby cougars have spots.
33 centimeters. The tail, however, was 73 centimeters in length, very long for a female puma of comparable size. The range in female pumas is from 53 centimeters to 81 centimeters." End quote. The team examining the specimen sent blood and tissue samples to the United States for further analysis.
And now, you're talking about the spots and it being too lean and gracile to be a jaguar. Ocelot is kind of... I don't know. Have y'all seen an ocelot, right? I'm so afraid to show videos. Maybe I'll just show a picture of it. Yeah, here's an article. All right, let me just show you an ocelot, because they look kind of like a mini jaguar with bigger ears. They're the second biggest spotted cat in the Western world, right? They're pretty robust. They don't get as big as what they're talking about here, 27 kilograms, but they get up to like 22 kilograms. They get pretty good size. They're like bobcat sized. They have shorter tails, though, is one of the things that makes me doubt that this could be it. But 10 to 16 inches. but they do have a very pantherine-like features to them, and they have the larger ears like they were talking about. Little baby one. Oh, I want to boop him. He's so cute. But yeah, they're got the stripes on the inside of the forelimbs like they were talking about. Oh, that's contagious. Him yawning made me yawn. This picture of a cat yawning made me yawn. So susceptible to psychosomatic pressure.
Texas Tech University declared that the Rodriguez specimen had great similarity and no significant differences with a standard cougar. As animals of different species are often close genetically, the Texas Tech preliminary investigation was inconclusive. Greenwell and Best did not follow up with any scientific publications regarding the supposed onça. The vague outcomes from the investigation led researchers to 4 possible conclusions regarding this mythical beast. Number 1. This could truly be a previously unknown species, perhaps a surviving example of the prehistoric Truman's cheetah, a North American variety of the African cheetah that died out 11,000.
It's not a North American variety of African cheetah. It's a convergent relative. It's a relative of the puma that has converged on a similar body plan to the African cheetah. No more closer related to the cheetah than the puma is related to the cheetah, as far as we can tell. Yeah, I know Salvador Dali did have an ocelot as a pet.
1,000 years ago. Number 2. This could be a naturally occurring hybrid of a cougar and a jaguar. Number 3. The Rodriguez.
Okay, so the thing about pumas and jaguars, or pumas and any big cat, is that you're talking about a pantherine and a feline, which are 2 subfamilies of cats, right? They're 2 subfamilies. As far as I know, it's actually the most distant related 2 mammals that I can think of are, well, no, because camels, yeah, the camel llama hybrid's probably more distant related. As far as carnivorous hybrids, though, the puma pard is the most distantly related of any cat hybrid that I can think of. Any carnivore hybrid I can think of. The puma pard, let's see here, puma pard were hybrids that actually got created in the 19th century. They were, unlike like a liger or a tigon, the puma pard displayed dwarfism. Puma concolor x Panthera pardus. There they are. They were very small, about the size of a bobcat, and had a distinct look to them. Like they called them little gray pumas with brown rosettes. And that pretty much describes it. So, not saying that this couldn't happen with a jaguar, but this is from a puma pards, or obviously leopards. That's where they get the pard from. But the pard part of that is key, because cougars and leopards fill the same type of ecological niche, generally speaking. Whereas jaguars, they can fill that niche, but they usually fill the top predator niche with like tigers and lions, with the cougar filling that secondary apex predator. Anyway, let's get this wrapped up here, because we're running over on Cryptic Corner now.
Rodriguez specimen and others could be mutant forms of a common cougar. Number 4. This could be a geographically specific subspecies of a cougar unique to northwestern Mexico. In 1998, more detailed results...
That would be my speculation. Not necessarily a subspecies, but maybe just a haplogroup, or a group with specific phenotypes, essentially.
On the Rodriguez onça were released. Comparative protein and mitochondrial DNA analyses revealed no significant differences between the supposed onça and the North American cougar. Given the many sightings and killings, this was the only specimen that underwent rigorous scientific analysis. Therefore, the researcher must use caution to apply the findings of the Rodriguez case to other reports of the mythical, majestic, gigantic cat of Mexico. Perhaps
It doesn't sound gigantic to me. It sounds, well, within the range of a regular cougar. I love kitty lore, too. I have tons of it. Stick around. Hang out in the Hive if you want to know about different big cats and little cats and everything in between. I can tell you about the canids. I can tell you about the hybrids. I can tell you about it all. You gotta stick around and with the Hive until they take me down. I'm gonna be spreading information on animals throughout the internet.
sometime in the near future, a rancher or cryptozoologist on the hunt for the onza may show the world a living, breathing creature to put the mystery to rest once and for all. Thank you once again for listening to another episode of Mexico Unexplained. Remember to like and subscribe to us on YouTube and follow us on Twitter. Tell your
All right, yeah, I'm gonna subscribe because this is the second time I've watched one of your videos, so definitely I'm here for it. You're doing good work, giving me content to discuss. This is one of their older videos, so it's been, it's just 5 years ago, but Mexico Unexplained, if you're actually wanting to follow up with this group. What do you guys think, though? Like, as far as the onza, was it a puma hybrid, puma jaguar hybrid? Was it a new species of cryptid? Is it a jaguarundi? The otterhead cat. I wonder why they don't speculate on the jaguarundi at all in any of these conversations about the onza. Probably because it has like the short legs and it's low to the ground. But the word onza, like if you look up onza on YouTube, it will bring up jaguarundis because that's another word for jaguarundi, right? This is the video we just watched, but these are all jaguarundi. All these are jaguarundi. Jaguarundi. Mountain lion. Jaguarundi. But jaguarundis are so cute, and I don't mind them being called the onza. Here's another video on the onza. It did not pop up when I was looking for it earlier, but there's lots of Spanish language ones. You can see that they come in black and stuff. But the coolest thing about them is let's go closing out all the extra tabs. Is that they can be albino. Look at this albino jaguarundi kitty. See, mommy, look at this. You have to look at it. Oh my gosh.
It's the first time the animal was ever found in the country. Authorities work with the volunteer fire department to
Oh my gosh.
Officials say the cub's albinism makes survival in the wild difficult because they are predisposed to certain health disorders, and they're also at a disadvantage in the wild since they can't camouflage, making them easy for them to be seen by their prey.
Have you ever seen anything so cute? Oh my gosh. Is there anything I won't say that's so cute about? Probably not, but look at this. Do you see what's on my screen? I want to know, is there an update on it? Yes, there is. Yes, there is. Well, no, they're not. Because that's got to be a different cat, right? This says ocelot. But this is a jaguarundi. Did it grow up? I want to know. Did you grow up? Are you still you can't still be a baby. I thought that this was it, but this is an ocelot. I wish we had. That might be it. Let me see. Yeah, somebody's got some Pinterest of albino jaguarundis up here, but I don't know. I don't know if it's the same animal, but that's what it shows. Albino jaguarundi is an adult. Here's a different angle of it. Tiny pictures, though, of course. And that's what I could find. Now this says it's an ocelot, so that's not our jaguarundi, and it has too big of ears, but it's cute too. Ocelots are adorable, but this guy right here,
For her to live out her days in a park like this one. Jaguarundis are a type of puma native to North and South America. They are solitary animals who only meet fellow jaguarundis when mating. After receiving a careful medical exam, this unique cat is walked off to a conservation park in Medellin. For Inside Edition Digital,
yeah. So I'm just muting it, so I'm trying to avoid causing myself any kind of trouble. So cute though. Oh, all right. So, yeah, what do you guys think as far as the Onza goes? Is the Onza a puma, a jaguarundi, a ocelot, a jaguar, a mixture of all, maybe, or some other unexplained species? Let me know in the comments down below. And please remember to be kind, take care, and we will see you next time.